This is the Unsung Cinematics Podcast, where we review some of the best kept secrets in TV and film. Your hosts, Stewart and Rastislav, present you with a misunderstood movie to see if it deserves the title of being unsung. Hello, listeners, and this is episode 2 of 2026 of Off the Record, and we have a full episode today. Hello, Ken, and hello, Rosto.
Hey, Stu. Hey, Rosto. Hello, listeners.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, we are okay, and it's nice 20 over the Europe, so it's really like a early spring.
So we'll get right into it. We have our picks, obviously, and my greater pick, which is going to be the feature today, is Bugonia from 2025. And it has Emma Stone in it, Yorgos Lanthimos, and Jesse Plemons, who are the main characters, and the director. This is kind of his... I'm going to say it's one of those films where you probably want to go see. It was released in 2025, has a 14A rating. However, there is some blood and violence in the film, and most of that is actually in the last third of the film, to be honest with you. It's not super out there like other sort of horror thrillers of the genre. And for those who don't know, this is definitely a thriller / alien conspiracy film. However, the conspiracy is a little more interesting that you would not normally find, I think, on the internet types of conspiracies. The viewership gave it a 7.4 on IMDb and a 72 Metascore. So the reviewers are doing quite well with this film. And so somewhere in the mid-south, Teddy and his autistic cousin have been living alone together in their, I'm going to say, dilapidated house in the woods, because their family was killed off and either hospitalized, a large portion of their family, by a corporation called Oxalith. And this is kind of a designer experimental drug company. They push a lot of new modern drugs and experimentation. And they happen to be doing it on the general population, and which turns out to be the family who is actually working at this pharmaceutical company. So these two boys, I'm going to say they're in their late 20s. Teddy, he's I'm going to say the ringleader, and then we have the autistic cousin. They live together in this house, and they pretty much get by off of Teddy's part-time job at the corporation and his side job as a beekeeper. Now, they live sort of off the grid a little bit. Their neighbors are quite far away, so they have sort of a way to do the beekeeping and not bother other people and not bother everyone else with their conspiracies. Teddy, after his mom had entered the hospital and is basically on her deathbed, decided to get deep into conspiracy territory and believes that aliens from the Andromedan galaxy have been manipulating humans for many centuries and are responsible for the bees being killed off. So he's kind of got a two-factor thing going on with his mom being in the hospital because of the corporation, also because of the bees. So he's delved right into it, and he's has stereotypical, conspiracy research done, and he's got paperwork everywhere, and he's got stuff up on the bulletin board and whatnot. Because he's a little bit disgruntled about all this, he comes up with this plan to kidnap the CEO of this company he works for and try to force a negotiation with the aliens, which takes place during the lunar eclipse. Teddy believes that the aliens have been doing experiments for hundreds of years on humans, as I had mentioned. And Aiden, all right, so Teddy obviously believes that the aliens are doing experiments for hundreds of years. And his cousin, being the autistic one, decides, I'm going to go along with it because he's been taking care of me and he's sort of like his trusted brother in a way. And basically whatever he says goes. So they ended up chemically castrating themselves to avoid being manipulated by Michelle, who is the CEO of the company.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they went, it does actually show them injecting this, I don't know what it was exactly, but they did show them injecting themselves in the leg with this chemical. And this is right before they kidnap her. So they go to her house, this big mansion, and very sort of sterile looking place. And they kidnap her right when she was coming home. They had this all planned out. She struggles a little bit, but she's not able to, fight back. So they lock her up in their basement, and they slather on this antihistamine cream to prevent her from contacting the mothership. Okay. So over a series of days, and I'm going to say even maybe 2 weeks or so, there's a lot of struggle going on between Teddy and Michelle. She's trying to use her psychology degree to, get Teddy to release her. However, it's not really working on him. So this kind of this power struggle and manipulation from her trying to, I'm not an alien. I'm not this. I'm not that. You're a whack job. You've been looking too much on the internet. You've been doing this and that. And I think you need to go see a doctor. And so she keeps trying to convince him, and she does try to escape a couple times. However, Teddy's cousin does have doubts along the way. And because he's autistic, he sometimes can't differentiate realities very well. So... Right. She's kind of working on him and chewing him down a little bit. He does kind of have a breakdown midpoint in the movie. I'll say as well, because I don't want to really spoil the plot too much, but there are many sort of truths and twists revealed and things you wouldn't expect to happen or actually do happen in this movie. And it's definitely an interesting film because you never quite know whether all this is in Teddy's head, all this conspiracy stuff, or if this is really just the way it is. They actually are Andromedans, and they've come to sort of conquer the planet, I guess. And however, it kind of begs the question: if they've been here for many centuries, why haven't they completely taken over yet? So that's something to definitely think about if you go watch this movie. As well, I thought the acting was really good. Emma Stone as Michelle, she's a pretty good actor. I'm not going to complain anything about her. And
right,
Jesse Plemons as Teddy. He kind of comes off as a bit of a nut job, and Aiden, as an autistic guy, like he's not fully autistic, but he's sort of borderline, so he kind of understands some things, but not all of it, and he really did well in the role. And there is a climax to the film as well that does satisfy the viewer, so it's not open-ended in any way, sense, or form. So for those who might be going to check out this film, you will be satisfied at the end. And I'll just say the cinematography was great. There wasn't really much use or limited use of the CGI, and it was all practical effects and props, and there was some effects that were definitely could have been CGI, but they decided to go against that, and I gave them props to that. And the practical sets, like the houses and the sort of dingy, worn down basement and the bees, that was all practical. They must have had some beekeeper on site there to be able to instruct them what to do and whatnot. So
right.
So all in all, I think it's worth the watch. So I'm going to give this a 7.5 out of 10.
From you, high praise from you.
Yeah, it's
so
quite nice.
It almost sounds like Lanthimos is kind of might be next in line to fill the shoes of David Lynch with some of the
Yeah, I don't
with some
think
of the creations he's having.
I don't think I've really checked out too many of his films.
I have to admit, I haven't seen. I've been aware of his stuff, but I have not actually watched any of them as yet. But I think I'll have to start working on that. Maybe this is a good place to start.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, with that said, we'll move on to our next pick.
Okay. Well, my picks this month are sort of touching on the what is kind of a hot button issue right now, that being immigration into the United States of America, illegal or illegal. So my migrator pick this time is going to be Crossing Over. It's a 2009 release from Lionsgate Pictures with a runtime of 113 minutes, and an MPA rating of R for pervasive language, some strong violence, and sexuality nudity. As for ratings, it's sitting at 6.7 out of 10 on IMDb right now, but it's only got a Metacritic score of 38. It got some not terrific, I guess you would say mixed reviews for reasons that I will get into with my review as well. And it's written and directed by Wayne Kramer. This film has a lot of several different plots and a number of different characters, so I won't go into a lot of detail, but I'll mention the main actors. Harrison Ford is pretty much the headliner. He plays an immigrations and custom enforcement agent trying to reunite a migrant mother played by Alice Braga with her child after she is deported. Brogan's partner, Harrison Ford's partner, Hamid, who is played by Cliff Curtis, is dealing with his sister Zara, played by Melody Kazai, flaunting her lifestyle, and he later gets involved in a convenience store robbery that goes wildly south. Ashley Judd and Ray Liotta, the late Ray Liotta, play an immigration lawyer and green card adjudicator, respectively, who both figure into several plot threads in this film. And there is a young Muslim girl who's played by Summer Bishil, and who has views that she expresses in her one of her high school classes that draw a lot of attention to herself and her family and their status inside the country. The actor Mahershala Ali, who is in several projects, including True Detective season 3, he's also drawn into the story as well. So the title "Crossing Over" can be taken as have to have a double meaning. I was thinking in terms of people crossing the border, but also the way a good number of the plot threads cross over with each other, because the story structure is a lot like the film Crash that was released back in 2005, where a number of the plot threads kind of come together and culminate near the end. So, yeah, this is basically a story based in Los Angeles about about the obstacles faced by those trying to gain U.S. citizenship from different countries through legal and illegal methods. Well, I personally think this would have worked better as perhaps maybe a Netflix miniseries or an Amazon miniseries, because there's just too much going on, and maybe with a miniseries format, the characters could have been outlined more effectively, and there would have been room for dialogue to be more natural, because it does get a little clunky and cliched in points. But there are still a number of compelling moments here, I thought. And the convenience store standoff that I mentioned before, that was I believe that was like the high point of the film in terms of tension and drama, and sort of talking about the themes of the story. It's hard for me to explain it here, but if you do watch the film, you'll see what I mean, I think. And actually, only recently found out on this film's IMDb and Wikipedia pages that Sean Penn filmed scenes as an ICE agent, but his part was edited out, apparently, possibly at the request of his agent. Now, Sean Penn also figures into my next pick that I will be discussing, and that's a film that has had some attention recently, and also Oscar notices. There are some problems with the story. There is a character played by the actress Alice Eve in this, and she has some moments of nudity in sort of a context that viewers could find a bit of exploitative. So a viewer should probably be aware of that going in. But aside from the problems that I've talked about, I felt it did try to give a more honest look at the ups and downs of immigration than my next pick does in examining the subject. for reasons I will make clear when I talk about my next pick. So basically, my score is going to be 6.5 out of 10. It's available on disc, video on demand, and you can stream it on Prime Video or for free on Plex.
Oh, okay.
That's
Yeah,
uh, that's pretty heavy topic actually. I mean, I saw
it's
Crash.
very heavy.
Crash was
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
very heavy and full of bias and people being judgmental against the Crash was not only immigrants, it was also about the racism, and
Hmm.
it was really
Yeah,
I
yeah.
never seen this one. Actually, I never heard about this one, and
Sort of came and went from theaters. Yeah, I mean, I was very dimly aware of it, but, or I shouldn't say dimly aware of it, but I was aware of it when it first was released, but it sort of faded off the radar because of the mixed reviews. But when I actually happened to my next pick that I'm going to discuss, I is a pretty high profile film, and as I was thinking of reviewing it, I thought, oh, I remember this one. I wonder if this would be a good counterpoint to review.
well, right now I think it's a good idea to review something on the long episode about the all the bad things that immigrants have to go through. I mean, and I'm not talking
Right.
about the economic immigrants, but I'm talking about those who are trying to make a life, basically, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it's yeah, it's very harsh, and that's something I can talk about because basically me being in other countries for you
Hmm.
know some period of time, and basically I felt it, so all of those
Oh yeah,
things
absolutely. Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, we were pretty hard on you there when you first came. We're like, look at that goofy Slovakian savage coming in here. He doesn't know about it. Just kidding.
well, well,
Maybe
I
we
heard
should
the
But
stories,
put some background for the viewers. Yes, we all lived together at one point. So
in the same rooming house,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
This is, I think we've talked about this before, but now that you bring that up, Rosto, the whole immigration process and the obstacles, yeah, you were in a difficult position at some points, I remember.
yeah. Anyhow, so yeah, it seems like that's something good to talk about nowadays.
Yeah. And I should actually make clear that with the number of different plot threads, there are characters who have made bad decisions, but there are also characters who are victims of circumstance that they didn't choose. So it does try to, you know, come from a variety of perspectives. So I think it's worth watching for
Right,
that reason.
right,
all right,
right.
Yeah.
cool. So we'll put that on the list of never ending films to watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So my greater pick is a TV show called The Path or The Way, I mean, and it's from 2000. It was streamed in 2016 through 2018, and basically there supposed to be more. I think the show was exhausted already with the end of the second season, but still, I really did like it. On IMDb, it's 7.2. I don't see any score on Metacritic's. Popularity goes down recently. In anyway, it's a TV show with 12 episodes to each season, and basically it follows this sect or group of people who believe in some sort of combination of movement that has aspects of new age, maybe some shamanism, because they often go to Peru. Peru is very famous with all kinds of shamans and the healing through herbs, etc., etc. There is some Christian mysticism. It's kind of mixture of it's kind of a salad of all possible, I would say, religions. You see some Jehovah Witnesses, aggressivity there, maybe some Freemasonry, Buddhism. It's kind of like peace against the some maybe some evil elements, all kinds of intrigues inside. So it's really something interesting. These people live in they create community. They have the huge property somewhere in New York State. They live in houses. They have regular jobs, and they spread the word. They're doing their missions, etc. So it's really something interesting. I was really admiring the how deep they actually explained their theology. That it was amazing. I mean, this creator Jessica Goldberg. I didn't study her much, but maybe she was actually a member of some kind of sect, because it was really amazing in which what kind of details they went. That's why it was interesting. And another reason it was really a good show was the main protagonist, played by Aaron Paul, already very famous from Breaking Bad, right? And also the stunning performance by Hugh Dancy. This is the British actor. This guy is amazing. I mean, he's something else. I already knew him from Hannibal TV show,
Yep. Yep.
and he really did a great performance. And he was in some other major movies. Also, there is Michelle Monaghan. She's also quite already quite established, and a bunch of other actors and really nice actresses, and some young, of course, actors actresses. So basically, the first two seasons are admirable. You see all those fight all over who is the leader, who is not leader, who is the fake leader or false prophet, etc. It's it's really interesting to see all these dynamics, or like following member who left. They keep following him. You can feel the same something that Jehovah Witnesses, they do that. When you leave them, they give you everything. They give you job, they give you money, they give you the roof over your head, the food, etc. And then once you leave, basically they keep following you. It's a typical sect behavior, and they just don't want to let you go, as opposed to regular religions, like basically all the Christians. Oh, well, you leave, or you switch from I don't know, you switch to Roman Catholic, to, let's say, to Lutherans. Well, nobody's gonna follow you. I mean, it's kind of free world,
Yeah.
but in these sects, it may become quite difficult sometimes. Once you are in, there is no way out.
Right.
So on that regard, extremely interesting. I believe there are more shows like this. However, this one was maybe first that was really well done. Really went deep inside the minds of these people, how they think, how they manipulate people. Of course, they getting novices, among the, let's say, drug addicts, or stranded kids. They go there, they picking them up, and
Mm.
give them food, give them nice bath, and
People who need a
etc.
place to belong.
etc.
Yeah.
Place to belong, and that's it
Yeah.
basically. So
Yeah.
it's a typical pattern. So
It kind of sounds like the embodiment of the coexist bumper sticker that you used to see back around that time.
Mm.
exactly, yeah. Sometimes it's bumper stick level of sect, but in this case, it was really elaborate theology. There is this really nice lecture about the Platon's cave. The typical philosophy story, which they transform in some sort of seeing the light, and it's really capturing and nice to watch. But then later, of course, it became
Kind of fell apart.
it kind of falls apart, and then it's. But I still give it a good points.
Mm-hmm.
They managed to end this show after the third season, so it was just about the time to to stop it, and the result is really great. Of course, obviously there is plenty of characters and protagonists, antagonists, etc. All the dynamics, the families, adults, etc. Some some cheating on wife, some adultery and
Mm-hmm.
etc.
Yep.
I'm not going to go to these details, but you need to check it out by yourself. I recommend this TV show just to understand how these kind of groups operate. And my rating is 7 out of 10.
Nice. Nice. All right. So we're gonna
Yeah.
move on then to my lesser
Plus,
pick, which is not much of a lesser pick, which is the Wolf of Snow Hollow, released in 2020. It is a dark comedy / werewolf horror flick directed by Jim Cummings, who is the director, the writer, and the main character in the film. So this is all of his passion put into this project. IMDb, the ratings are not that great. 6.2 on IMDb and a 67 Metascore. There are also some scenes of violence. It is rated 13 plus, but I'm not sure if that was a completely accurate rating because there is some violence and blood in the film, although
Yeah.
not necessarily as much as you would see in a typical werewolf film. And with that out of the way, I'm going to say this is not a classical werewolf tale. It is a very small production as well. I was looking up the box office numbers, and they only did 266,000. Now, I have a feeling that might be partially because of the human malware situation back when this was released. So that could be a factor. But anyways, I decided to review it anyways. And like other werewolf films, it starts off the same with the opening. Well, I wouldn't say necessarily the opening scene, but someone does die at the start of the film, and everyone's like, oh, it must have been an animal or this, that. So lots of TV shows and films have already, introduced their werewolf film in that way, or werewolf or story in that way. So the main character, his name is John Marshall. He's the deputy, and Robert Forster actually plays the sheriff of the film, along with Detective Julia Robson, played by Ricky Lindholm, and then we have Chloe East as Jenna. She was another Marshall. So we have this group of characters. They're trying to figure out this murder, and Sheriff Hadley, he's getting up in age, as you already know, and he can't really do so much that he used to do with his duties. So he's kind of let his son start to take over the reins, so to speak. But he's a younger guy. I'm going to say maybe in his early 30s, and so he's not really all that experienced yet, and it shows throughout the film, and that's where some of the comedy comes in. So basically, everyone in this little town thinks that it was a giant animal doing it, and even a couple of the guys are like, oh, maybe it is a werewolf after all because of the teeth marks and this and that. But he doesn't think that's the case. He said no such thing as werewolves. So the detectives are obviously more keen to believe in the supernatural, and he is not. So regardless of the truth, there are a series of mutilations and murders that start to occur in the community, and John is starting to get a little stressed out about the whole situation. He probably isn't really cut out for the role that he's been thrown into right now, being younger and inexperienced, and things are complicated a bit because he also has a bit of a drinking problem that he's going to AAA for. So he's trying
Yeah.
to manage the stress along with that. But the way it comes out is kind of comedic in a way. Like the way he's screaming at his subordinates and the way he sort of conducts himself reminds me of some little teenager who's mad at his dad or something for the way things are going. So he's trying to keep it all together, and he's trying to investigate these murders, and all his little quirks come out. He also has a daughter who's also experimenting. She's about 16 years old or so, and she's kind of experimenting with boys and this and that's stressing him out even more. She's kind of lost respect for her dad because, in a way, he's kind of not very manly. He tries to be this big macho kind of guy, but you can tell he's really not all that macho.
Yeah.
And one night he kind of forbade her daughter to go out, and she goes anyways because she has no respect for him. And she has a tangle with this werewolf out when she's with her boyfriend, and they go in a car out to a bluff somewhere, and they end up coming back, and they get attacked on the street in their vehicle. So in the nick of time, John comes and kind of scares off this large creature. Up until this point in the film, it isn't really, the werewolf's not really shown. It's just more like a shadowy figure that is very large, like almost 7 feet tall, and very sort of, muscular or broad or something like that. So people are definitely buying into the werewolf territory. Without going too much more into the plot and spoiling everything, John does manage to piece together a lot of the clues that are left for him, and they do find that a man who lives on the outside of the city in a trailer all by himself has overdosed, and they find all this evidence suggesting that he was the actual killer of these people. He is definitely mentally disturbed, and all the evidence is sort of pointing towards him as the killer. Now, the sheriff's office believes this is the case, so they decide to wrap up the case. However, the movie is not over. So, with that said, I won't go into any more territory to spoil it, but that would be about the 3/4 way mark through the film. So, I'm going to say there's very little use of CGI. Most of the shots were actually done in daylight. There were less scenes at night to kind of scare you, I suppose. So it's kind of different in that way. Like most werewolf films, you're going to see lots of dark and horror, but this one takes the opposite approach of that. And I enjoyed the props, and the actors were pretty decent in the roles. It's a whodunit flick, but it's also a werewolf flick. So check it out if you think you might be interested in this type of werewolf dark comedy. So I'm going to give it a 7.1 out of 10.
That's still pretty good for you. I mean, I've actually seen this several years ago. I guess
you
shortly
have?
after
Okay.
it came
Well,
to video.
did you
Yeah.
think it was as good as I claimed?
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It was kind of a non-traditional take on the whole werewolf genre, and I enjoyed the performances, including Robert Forster and Jim Cummings. I mean, I've seen several of Jim Cummings' films, so he does. I thought he did a pretty good job of being sort of the neurotic everyman, I guess you would say.
Okay.
Yeah, I did enjoy the film. Yeah.
Well,
I
that
did
explains
enjoy
why
it,
you were
yeah.
snickering throughout there, so you knew exactly what I was talking about.
I knew some stuff. I mean, it's been a few years since I watched it, but I do recall the plot elements and some of the specific sequences. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed it as well.
All right, so we have another solid pick for our viewers there then.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Rosto, do you want to jump in at all, or?
No, well, I mean, I never seen that. I mean, is it comparable to those classics back from end of 80s, like American Werewolf in the London, or like those
No,
old
it's nothing like those at all.
classic?
No,
No,
it's a different sort of.
It takes a different
yeah,
take on the whole werewolf genre.
Right,
Right,
right.
But I don't
right.
want to spoil it either,
Yeah,
so I won't go into any more.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very
Well,
different from American War. Yeah, but it's still worth watching.
I mean, these werewolf, movies or TV shows or this vampire. I think one of these actresses, she was even in this Buffy, like that used to be a. I think the series of long feature movies about the vampires. I got it got
Right.
pretty. It got pretty tiresome after that huge success of that
Oh,
vampire teenage
Buffy the
Buffy
yeah.
or Twilight or something like that. Those
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
there was like
Twilight,
huge
yeah.
success with this. So that basically,
Well, yeah. This film is more of a crime slash dark comedy than it is a werewolf film. Although the werewolf film is definitely out in front for sure. But Buffy
right,
the Vampire Slayer is more comparable. Let's say Supernatural, and then whatever those
Yeah,
vampire
yeah.
series was. Those were more romance than vampire films, I think. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, kind of cheese. Typically the creators or directors they don't really want to touch. It's really difficult to make something interesting out of.
Yeah, original.
I mean, there's plenty of those.
yeah, yeah.
Nobody wants to touch
Well,
it.
it's like this
Uh,
zombie genre, it's been done this 10 zillion times. I mean, how many times can you watch
Yeah.
zombies crawl around and bite somebody and eat their
right,
brains, right?
right,
So, I mean, it's hard to come up with a
exactly.
new spin on a zombie take. So,
Well, exactly. That's why we have movies like Little Zombies. Sorry, Little Monsters.
yeah, yeah,
Like we
it's a-
go to
Yeah,
such
yeah.
an extreme to we go to such an extreme to put something on
something interesting, yeah.
something interesting. But otherwise, the genre is pretty much exhausted. But they're still coming up. That's great. You see there is still some creativity and innovation.
Yep.
So that's why we have the
Yeah,
movie like
definitely.
this.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Ken, I guess it would be
Yep.
your.
Oh, well, time for my lesser pick, and this is one it's actually Oscar nominated. I'm not sure that I agree with that. I'm going to be talking about One Battle After Another, which is, of course, a 2025 release from Warner Brothers Pictures with a runtime of 161 minutes, an MPA rating of R for pervasive language, violence, sexual content, and drug use. For ratings, it's sitting at 7.7 out of 10 on IMDb and 95 on Metacritic score. And it's been, of course, written and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, and it was inspired by the novel Vineland by Thomas Pynchon. So we have Ghetto Pat Calhoun, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, and Perfidia Beverly Hills, played by Tiana Taylor. They are young revolutionaries devoted to combating the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency and to each other. Shortly after they find they are expecting a child together, Perfidia gets captured by authorities for committing robbery and accidentally killing someone. However, Colonel Stephen Lockjaw, who's played by Sean Penn, and this is the connection that I was talking about, carrying over from crossing over, as I just talked about. He plays an officer who has been pursuing the two since they participated in that in a detention center raid right at the beginning of the film. He convinces Perfidia to give up Pat and their associates in exchange for witness protection. Perfidia later escapes and jumps the Mexican border, and Pat arranges new identities for himself and their infant daughter, Willa. 16 years later, Pat and Willa have become Bob and Charlene Ferguson, living semi sort of off the grid. Willa has been able to go to school, and she's become a good student of academia and martial arts. And Bob tries to protect her from the world he used to be a part of, while sitting around getting stoned, watching old movies like the Battle of Algiers. Yeah. However, Colonel Lockjaw is fixating on finding he and Willa for reasons of his own, and he now has the backing of a white supremacist group called the Christmas Adventurers. And this leads to Bob and his former colleague Deandra, played by Regina Hall, and Willa's sensei Sergio, played by Benicio del Toro. And they have to find a way to keep Willa safe from the deranged colonel. So, this film, it seems to be trying to fit the tone and character quirks of Anderson's other films, such as, Punch Drunk Love, There Will Be Blood, Boogie Nights, into a socially conscious story about people caught up in the pitfalls of illegal immigration and white nationalism. I'm not sure it really works well in that respect. However, there are good performances in it. I liked Regina Hall and Chase Infinity is the young actress who plays Willa slash Charlene. I believe this was her first major film role, and I thought she did pretty well in it. She had a pretty nice presence, and she does well, and she gets involved in the action near the end. So I thought she did really well with all that, and she sort of gets into a situation where she's captured by Sean Penn, and I thought she held her own well against Sean Penn's character. I liked Penn's performance as well. It seemed, I don't want to say he was chewing the scenery up, but he was kind of playing, I guess you would say, a very, I don't know if you'd say uptight or, repressed authority figure, I guess you would say.
Yeah, his character was very caricaturish.
Caricature,
Yeah,
caricature. That's the word I was thinking of with some of the character portrayals in this movie. Really kind of
yeah,
cartoonish and sort of, yeah, not
yeah,
very. There's not a lot of nuance, I guess you would say. I guess, yeah. And
yeah.
DiCaprio tried his best, but his character was kind of pathetic through the whole movie. He was always really playing catch up and falling from trees or falling from the top of buildings and out of a tree, like falling into a tree. I think it's like a 40-foot drop his character takes at one point, and he just acts like he's got a couple of bruised ribs. So with the cartoonish element, if for Sean Penn, I think if his character from the 1980 he played in the 1989 movie Casualties of War, if he hadn't gotten course-martialed and had become instead a cartoonishly right-wing ICE agent, I think this would probably be the result of that. I did like how Paul Thomas Anderson staged some of the action scenes. There is one good car crash sequence with Sean Penn that I thought was well filmed. And of course, there's the final car chase over. There's sort of, I guess, a desert road full of like hills and valleys, and the way it's filmed, it almost seems like it's a chase sequence on like the high seas, just from how disoriented you get from the constant up and down. So I was kind of surprised how well he did with the action. That was interesting to watch. But unfortunately, the plot is really kind of strange, and it just seemed like the whole, it didn't really examine immigration and, revolutionary movements all that deeply. It was just sort of a framework to hang,
Hmm.
around the.
Would you say it has any connections to the novel, or is it just so loosely based that?
I think it was more loosely based because I've not actually read the novel. It was actually the novel was actually published back in 1990, and I think it dealt more with Reagan era, like during the Reagan era of politics. And I
Okay.
don't know how many parallels one wants to draw with the present administration and the Reagan administration. But without having read the novel, I can't really say. But it's just having read a bit on Wikipedia about the novel, it seems like it's just a loose adaptation, as you say.
Hmm.
So I'm not sure how the author felt about the adaptation or not.
Yeah, I kind of wonder, I do like Leonardo DiCaprio. It's no problem, but
Hmm.
I think he should readjust his acting approach. I mean, he's no a young guy anymore. I mean, he's in 50s, and and he still acted the same way how he used to act all the time. Like there is
Mm.
something about that. Like he's still trying to be a young actor, and he it's like he doesn't want to readjust to some roles playing more mature man. Like there is this thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Something was bothering me on his performance. And plus, like
Well,
you said, it was
yeah.
the whole movie was a mess. Like you you never
Yeah, it doesn't
know.
hang together very well. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's not intertwined the same way. Let's say like Magnolia. Like Magnolia, you are quite
Right,
clear
yeah.
what's going on. But here it's like a bunch of mess. DiCaprio, I don't think DiCaprio is good material for Anderson. This is what I strongly think. So I
Mm.
think Spielberg or maybe Scorsese would handle this type of persona like Leonardo DiCaprio much better.
Mm.
There was
Okay.
something
Yeah.
there was some ingredients missing in his performance. It just became
Yeah, yeah.
really like I didn't care about this guy. I mean, about this character at all. And
Yeah,
sorry,
I actually like yeah. Yeah.
I haven't finished this movie because I couldn't. I just couldn't finish it.
I know you were saying you couldn't even. Yeah, I was able to
Yeah,
get through all over 2.5 hours of it, but if it because I know you've admired Anderson's work for a while, but the fact
I
that you
still
can
am.
finish you could not finish. Oh, yeah, of course, yeah, sure, but the fact that you can finish this particular film, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone. There are other people who will, I mean, as we were saying, it's had Oscar attention, but I don't really think it deserves it. But that's just my opinion.
No,
Anyway, my final score is
no.
6 out of 10.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can, of course, it's on disc, VOD, and major streaming platforms.
Okay, great. By the way, guys, check it out. I mean, I don't want to trash it. It's a different story when you see all those Anderson's movie. I've seen all of his movies, so we
Right.
tend to compare, right? So, but still, it's still worth watching.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's worth watching once, but I wouldn't expect. I would lower my expectations. I mean, I've only seen Punch Drunk Love in full of his other films. I've seen bits and pieces of his other ones, and I really thought Punch Drunk Love was really well done.
That was great.
But
Yeah,
this
that
one,
was
yeah, yeah,
no,
that was very good. But this one, not as good, I don't think.
not as much. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so my lesser pick would be Canadian limited series or TV show. I think 10 episodes, and it was streamed basically last year, and it's called Wayward. It touches the same topic like The Path, but it's much more, it's kind of shallow. It doesn't go deep into theology or the like how this let's say movement was created and what was the purpose. It doesn't go that deep. And another thing I didn't like, creator of this show is M-A-E, Mae Martin. Okay, this is the figure from Toronto, Canada. Play one of the main character. He's a cop, and basically what's going on up there in one of the first part of the story is situated in Toronto, and then there is some disappearance of bunch of teenagers basically, and the second part of the story, or I would say the second location of the story, is in America across the border, right? And there is this really strange school for it's kind of like a reformatory school for troubled kids. Once you are there, then you are not only getting some sort of rigorous education, etc., and the way how you live in this building with the huge property which is rounded by barbed wire. It's heavily guarded, etc. So basically, it turns out is actually some sort of sect led by this lady who previously in her childhood or teenage years was part of a sect herself, and then basically, and this will be revealed later by her murdering the leader. Basically, she became a leader of this sect, and she would change the theology. But anyway, there is not really a theology, right? It's really something like they need to go through this door, which originally that door was not possible to pass through them. The door was practically only a painting on the wall, and so how you can go through the wall, right? So basically, it was something that you couldn't really achieve. So they would be feeding you on some sort of hard work to get through this door, somehow, right? But she would make it feasible through hallucinogenic drugs. Anyway, uh, it was interesting to watch. On the other hand, the fact that this creator Maya Martin was playing, and he is in real life, he's a transgender, and his character is transgender as well. So it for me it was a little bit shoehorned. It
Yeah,
didn't
sounds like
fit at
it.
all. Yeah, yeah. Like I mean,
Some sort of agenda in place, huh?
agenda in place. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of it in Canada, of course. I mean, the Canada, I think, was the first to allow registered partnership or
Yeah,
uh,
SSM or same-sex marriage. Yeah,
yeah, and all that, all those things. This was like, oh, okay, I want to do this story about the guy who is transgender and trying to make trying to live an ordinary life. On the other hand, it was shoehorned and it didn't fit the whole picture basically. And I think that was the one of the reasons why they quit the the TV show after one season only, because there is also things that haven't been fully explained, right? So
yeah. Well, you can only go so far with the message.
you can only go so far, like you have movies like Boys Don't Cry, okay? They go straight to the point. They simply show you what's going on, If you guys ever seen the movie, it's about basically
Some years
transgender, and
ago, yeah.
it yeah, it focuses on the topic, and it's supposed to shock you and tells you the story and some sort of statement. But this one, it was simply out there, like, I want to say something, or
Kind of sounds like they didn't have much of a plan for the episodes, and we're just trying to rely on their, I don't know, binaryism to keep the show going.
yeah, I mean, it seems to me like, okay, let's put this binaryism in a story, and then subsequently let's create the story around that.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah, that never
it's like
works.
it's it seems to me like you put the script in the AI and tell the AI, okay, please read this script and make it politically correct, or make it throw some binary there or something.
Maybe
It was really,
maybe it was created by AI.
maybe.
Mm.
I mean, it was nice to watch. There was nice dynamics, and like a teenage trouble touched, like high school in Canada, troubles in, with the parents, drugs, some alcohol abuse, etc. Lots of swearing, and those were like a nice parts. On the other hand, the whole show I was waiting like I was asking myself, can someone already explain to me like what is this sect about? Like some little bit of theology or some philosophy, why they do that? What's what are the what's the end of it? Like what's the
Right.
purpose of the it? As opposed to the my first pick, the path, where it was clearly explained. But this one just doesn't explain, and plus this shoehorned binarism inside, it just makes you mad. So basically, yeah, go ahead, watch it. It's no problem. I mean, it's a nice watch. It's I think altogether it's only eight. No, sorry, 10 episodes. Each episode is like 45 minutes. On the other hand, it sort of falls apart, the whole thing.
Mm,
Basically,
yeah.
it just doesn't work like this. It just doesn't work like this.
All right.
So my rating for this TV show is 5.5 out of 10. It's still
5.5.
watchable, but there are some interesting aspects, interesting things and dynamics. On the other hand, I was turned off by lots of holes, the plot, and also the forced agenda.
Great.
There
Okay.
you go.
Thank you for that, Rosto. Well, I don't know. I think I'll be putting that on my list. We're going to wrap up this episode, and thank you, boys, for coming on. And we had it was quite
Thank
a
you,
long
everyone.
one, actually. Yeah. So our next full-length feature is going to be, I believe, the Italians. So look forward to that one. I haven't watched it yet, but I will be probably in the next week or two. So
Yeah, right on.
Perfect.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, guys.
yeah, have a good
Take
one.
care.
Thank you, listeners, and we'll see you soon. The Unsung Cinematics podcast is produced by Rastislav Miklos and Stewart Rathje. The statements in this podcast are the opinions of the hosts and not necessarily a true statement or literal fact. You can find us on Substack at unsungcinematics.substack.com or listen to us on your favorite podcasting app. Copyright 2026.